This is a video response to Apologeticsman on covenants. First of all, when God makes a covenant, it is eternal and perpetual. Just to run through one more time what we actually believe, God gave Adam 6 commandments. Don't blaspheme, don't commit idolatry, which, by the way, you are doing with the Trinity. Do not murder, do not steal, and do not commit sexual immorality, and set up courts of justice. All of Adam's descendants from that point on have to keep those laws. God then made a covenant with Noah, and Noah's end of this covenant was to uphold the previous commandments as well as an additional commandment not to eat the limb of a living animal. This does not mean that Noah and his descendants didn't have to keep the previous 6, there was just an additional one to add on to them. God then made a covenant with Abraham, a covenant of circumcision. This does not annul the previous 7 laws for Abraham, it just gave an additional commandment to Abraham and his descendants. God then gave the Torah to the Jews for a covenant between him and his people. This did not annul the previous 8 commandments. The Jews still must get circumcised and still must uphold the laws of Noah. Now, a misunderstanding that you seem to have is that the laws of Noah is a religion. It is not a religion, but rather it is the absolute minimum requirements God gave us that we should be worthy to live on this earth. This means Jews as well as non-Jews. This is nowhere near a moral end-all, but as I said, the absolute minimum requirements God gave us to be worthy to avoid capital punishment. Now, you continue to misunderstand what I'm saying about the covenants. You keep telling me that Noah and his children were allowed to eat pork and other non-kosher foods, and therefore none of Noah's descendants have to keep kosher unless the covenant was broken. This simply isn't the case. Noah and his children also didn't have to get circumcised, but this doesn't mean that none of his descendants don't have to get circumcised. The covenant of Torah, including kosher, was not given until Moses, so therefore anyone before Moses, including Noah, of course, did not have to keep Torah. Those who have to keep Torah do, however, have to keep the laws of Noah, as I previously stated. Now, what puzzles me is that you and others are so against the laws of Noah. What problem could you possibly have with them? It teaches basic morals. I don't see how anyone could have a moral problem with these laws. So explain that one to me. Now, as far as the new covenant mentioned, I think it's in Jeremiah 31, this is simply a renewal of the covenant given to the Jews. I can show you verse after verse about how Jews are supposed to keep Torah forever. So therefore, any talk of a new covenant we must understand in light of those verses as well. Scripture doesn't contradict itself. If you read chapter 31, it actually says that the Torah will be written on their hearts. Do you hear that? The Torah. It will be written on their inward parts, meaning that they will desire to keep it faithfully. It will not be annulled altogether, God forbid. Something interesting to think about. Every single covenant God has made has added something additional to the previous. However, from your point of view, this was only true until the new covenant with Jesus, which actually annulled all previous laws. So that's something to think about. Anyways, thanks for listening. I hope you try to understand what I'm saying.
It took me by surprise.